Do you consider yourself a guru, a wizard at what you do? Well, I'm here to tell you that might not be a good thing. That might actually be what is holding you back from being good on stage and in your business. And you do not have to take my word for it. Not that you would anyways. I don't think you really be taking my word for anything. That's why I be having these guests come on here. So the person that I suggest that you listen to about that is Ryan Wimpey. Ryan Wimpey is a self-proclaimed head people grower at Tip Top Canine, a successful dog training franchise with multiple locations across 11 states. His journey into dog training began after adopting a problematic Schnauzer Terrier mix named Curly. He was frustrated by traditional methods, so he developed the Tip Top method. I love me a good methodology and a framework. Love it, love it, love it. He based it on classical conditioning, and guess what? Curly's a good dog now. Curly became a good dog. Because of that breakthrough and his processes, he has a super successful business based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. But this episode is not about dogs, I promise. This episode, like all the episodes in this season, is about speaking and how he has used public speaking to help people curb their egos and to curb his own, and uses that same methodology to grow his successful business. I know this episode is all about the ego, what to do with it, what people do when they throw you off of it, when you're on stage, when you're off stage. And that was an unexpected outcome, all because of the answer to the question of, what if they ask me a question and I don't know the answer? This episode is for you if you feel like you are going to get caught up on stage by not knowing the answer, or if you're afraid of getting on stage and hearing crickets because the audience is not engaged. This is all about how to have your ego be your amigo during your quest to have the most engaged audience and the most compelling talk. All right, you ready? Let's go.
Welcome to the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Alea Harris. If you're looking for actionable ways to overcome communication and differentiation challenges by sharing radically authentic stories, you are in the right place. Listen in and learn how to stand in the power of your unique narrative to transform your personal life, business, and workplace culture. And now, your host, award-winning international speaker, strategic storytelling consultant, and Japanese whiskey lover, Ruby Coral's mom, Alea Harris.
Hey, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us here on the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast. How are you doing today?
Hey, I am doing great. Thanks for having me on.
I am so excited to have you on because people, I think, probably are like, Alea, why are we doing dogs? Like, what is happening? But I actually am going to dissuade that salacious rumor by telling people what you told me your job title was, which is head people grower. You are actually in the people business despite the name of your company and the picture behind you that says, "We love dogs." So tell me a little bit about what it means to be a head people grower before we get into some of our topic here.
Yeah, so we grow people. So we have a franchise company with 24 locations. Most of them are dog-obsessed people that have no business skills. Some of them come from the business background. But so we're growing people into the business side. We're growing people into the sales side that just have a passion for helping people with their dog. And then I'm also growing a corporate team alongside it to support all those locations. So some companies, they buy their talent, right? Tip Top, we grow it.
I love it. So we have homegrown dog-loving people that work for Tip Top. And you also are in the business of speaking to people as well. Hence the reason why you're on this podcast right now. And when I asked you, hey, Ryan, what brain gems could you share and sprinkle on the people? You said that your secret sauce specifically lives in the area of engaging the audience and keeping their attention, which I would like to know before I get into more overarching concepts. Like, do you have a story of when you did that either really well or really, really badly and what you learned from that?
Yeah, the bad one sticks out huge. So, I remember I was speaking at a smaller business conference. It was a sold out room, but it was only like it's 300 people, 250, 300 people. And I was on there with two other guys talking about branding and building branding. And I remember tooting my own horn, bringing my ego in. And
Yuck. Ew,
disconnect.
yucky,
Yeah.
yucky, ew.
Don't freak you out over there. But yeah, I saw it. I could feel it. I could see it in the audience. I felt disconnect because that was my first time talking in front of this audience. And I was still up for 45 minutes. But in about 15, 20 seconds, I saw the disconnect. I felt it. And when I tried to get it back and act a little more humble, it didn't work. I lost that audience.
You lost them for 40. So you were up on the,
Yeah.
I've never had that happen.
Oh, you want to talk about it back?
The audience for other reasons, though. Like,
Yeah.
don't let me stand on this.
So they're listening, they're engaging with the other speakers, but I didn't do good on that one, right? And I was like, oh, wow.
So I want the people to really hear, because I talk about this all the time. And I'm like, your ego is not your amigo, and you got to take control of your ego. I have ego meditations. There's an ego in my book, all of the things. I don't think people believe me that like bad things can actually happen. You lost the audience for that entire 45 minutes.
Right.
Wow.
I did. Yeah. They disengaged. They said, hey, this guy's got an ego. They didn't know me. I was just someone brought up on stage, and I didn't provide value first. I didn't connect with their needs first. I tried to kind of like the narcissistic people in your book you talked about. I was patting myself on the back, and I got an instant disconnect. And so, you know what? I didn't make that mistake again. And that was one of my first times being on really a slightly bigger stage, right? Since then I've been on bigger ones, but for me then that was a big learning curve.
Okay, so if you could rewind and do it again,
Absolutely.
what would you do differently?
First off, point out the multiple people and the coaches, consultants that I've worked with that helped me, right? The books I've read, spending all that time studying. There was a lot of other stuff and a lot of help along the way that went to it, and point to that and really make sure that I'm focused on the audience. Like, it's not like, oh, what have I done? Like, hey, how can I help them build their brand? Hey, how can I help them think about linear workflows to grow their business as a new entrepreneur doing less than $1 million a year in revenue? That would be my focus now stepping onto the stage.
We need to have like a vocab break, Ryan. Linear workflow.
Yes.
What is that?
Oh, okay. So
we have the education corner with Ryan. Let us begin.
Got it. So I run a franchising company. We have 24 locations. We want a linear workflow, which means step, say 1 to 10 in a linear fashion, just in a straight line. So think Chipotle or Subway, where they're running someone through a line. Chipotle runs people through very, very quickly, right? They have a very linear flow. You pick the first thing, to go or there. Right? I went today, to go or there. Hey, burrito, salad, bowl, what do you want? And you keep going. So the more systems in a business that you can make linear, you can pass that system off to someone else. And with a little bit of instruction, they can duplicate exactly what you did.
Okay, so what's the opposite of a linear workflow then?
Great question. The opposite of a linear workflow is the guru wizard mindset, where, well, when it's this, I do this. When it's that, I do that. And there's 50 different ways to handle a problem, right? And if you really want to know, you have to consult the guru. I want to do the opposite of that. I want to empower the people. So I make a system, I give it to someone, whatever breaks, I fix it again until I can hand it off and hand it off. That's why, McDonald's is successful. They have a good linear way to make burgers, how to do everything. And they're able to do it very quickly with a variety of people.
You know what is making me giggle in my toes about what you just said is the guru wizard mindset is literally an ego-driven business model. And that's the one that is not scalable. That's the one that is not creating franchises. That's the one that is stressing people out. That's the one where you're like, oh, but that's not me. But then you say to yourself, oh, but nobody can do it like I do. I can't replicate myself. Yeah, homie, that's you. You are that guru wizard that's having problems. So I love the way that you said that. From the lesson in your talk, the lesson in the way you run your business is literally removing your ego, realizing that your mama told you were special, but you ain't that special. You can put your special down in an SOP and keep it pushing. I love that.
I think a lot of that comes from experience and time, though. You know, as people start up a business in the beginning, they're like, oh, well, no one can do it as good as me. Luckily, I'm married and I have a wife that says people can do it as good as you. You just need to show them.
See, this is the power of wife. I don't know why nobody believes me. I am a wife. I'm a proud wife. Wives unite. Wives are the only reason why the world goes round, man. I swear. I swear. I like your wife so much.
Oh, yeah. She's a rock star.
So much. Okay. So now that we've talked about actually ego in multiple different facets from a business model standpoint and also from how to win and or lose an audience, the question that you say most people asks you the most is actually also related to ego. The question is, what if they, assuming an audience member, what if they ask me a question and I don't know the answer? What is your answer to that?
Yeah. So I'll tell you, so I'm training right now at corporate. I have a lady, she's from Norway. English is her second language. She's in a sales position, right? She's very calm, not like super like bro culture type person. You know, so some people like that.
Need more of her. I'm sorry, bro culture people. Bye.
You know, the bro culture sales type person, they'll answer with BS. Right. But an authentic, real person, they're nervous. They don't want to be asked a question. And you've been on big stages before, right? What happens, the bigger rooms you get into, you run into these intellectual people with high IQs, high self-importance, and they're going to ask an intellectually loaded question to make themselves look smart.
Yes, because they actually probably had their speaking submission rejected, ended up coming to the conference anyways and trying to be like they could be on stage. For the record, if that's you, you are a heckler, sir. You are not an intellectual. I've had that happening before. I've been in
I'm sure.
with my friends. It's ridiculous. The audience thinks that you're a jerk, and I think you're a jerk too. Just in case you were wondering. Please do continue, Ryan, with this story.
Here's how we kind of approach that. Hey, normally we're just going to push. You can say just the basic, hey, yeah, that's a good question. Or, hey, I've never been asked a question like that before. And then I tell them just to admit if they're not 100%. Yeah, that's a great question. I have no idea on that. And then pivot to power. Whatever the conversation topic is, hey, you're going to push. That push is going to give you a few seconds of breathing room, right? Few seconds of breathing room. Then you're going to admit, don't BS. People can tell when you're inauthentic, right? That's your whole book. I'm only halfway through it.
Yeah,
but that's
my whole book, which is Spark the Stage, available on Amazon. Do continue.
Here we go. Right here.
Oh, we have product placement. He's holding up the it's highlighted, everybody. There's highlights in it.
We got some highlights in it. It's good. It's good.
Okay.
Yeah. But then you got to pivot to power. So whatever you're talking about, if it's dog training, like that's what our people do, then they're going to say, but hey, 98% of dogs, this method, the classical conditioning works on, and we do a money back guarantee. So you literally have nothing to lose. So if we did this, would you want to do this package or this package?
Love it.
Right?
Love it. I love that phrase, pivot to power, because that's exactly what those people in the audience are trying to get you out of the center of your power so that they can make you feel less than and make themselves feel more than. In a storytelling framework, do you know what that person is in the story? The role they're playing?
No, what?
The villain.
Villain, yeah.
Villain. So basically, you have like a mixture of like Jafar or like Maleficent or like Ursula, obviously all the Disney villains, out in the audience trying to take away your little voice, Little Mermaid. The best thing that you can do is say, I don't think so. In fact, I like my legs and I like my tail. I'm going to choose to figure out how to live in both worlds. And you are going to stand in the center of your power. I love that. Because you know what? Relating back to this ego situation, what we're witnessing in that situation is someone whose ego has run amok and is threatening to make your ego run amok as well. Because your ego can like do what they did the time that you were on stage and make you be like, I'm all big and bad. Or it can also do the opposite and make you be like, you're nothing. Let me protect you. You're worthless. Right?
Right.
And it's like the clash of the egos, like Clash of the Titans, but clash of the egos. So I love when you said pivot to power.
Right. And that's going to change, right? Depending on what your stage is, what type of questions you're entertaining. But wherever you're strong in, I tell our people, like, hey, do not get in the mud and wrestle with them. In the mud.
Yeah.
Right? Path, wherever it's at, you have your area where you're strong in. When someone tries to jig you down in the mud because that's where they like to live, don't get up in there with them. Do not go down in the mud with them.
Do not go down in the mud with them. That's like, what is it? Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high. That's kind of like that whole experience.
Exactly.
In the room. What if, though, you have, it's not Maleficent out there. It's just a random, C person with a genuine question that you don't know the answer to. What do you do in that case?
I say, hey, let me think about that for just 1 second. That's a hard question. And I pause. Early on when I was speaking in front of people or on a mic anywhere, I had a hard time pausing until I actually worked with a speaking coach. I wanted to fill the silence out of a little bit of insecurity, right?
Oh, that's super common.
The pause for me is huge, especially with those big questions. People feel like, hey, you need to know 8,000 answers to every single little question. No, you don't. No.
The thing that helps me with that is realizing that I'm on stage channeling that message for that moment, for that audience. And I almost picture conferences as like a rotating stage. Like I get off and another audience member might be able to get on and talk about their area of expertise. And then another audience member. I am not supposed to be, the end all be all of all answers on all topics of all things. And actually, the feeling that you need to do that and be that pulls away your focus. It makes you then trip back into that ego place where you feel like you need to be the guru or the wizard, not someone who's just really good at that. Tell me again, what is it? Linear
workflow.
Linear workflow, which is now my new thing, just in case you were wondering. What I was stealing from you, that is it. Among other things, but that's the main thing that I'm stealing. And realizing that power comes from simplicity, right? Yes. Power comes from actually vulnerability and saying you don't know. And I've done that before on stage and been like, exactly what you did. I have no idea. Anybody else know? I've done that. I swear to God, in rooms where there's 50 people, and I actually did it in a room where there's 500 people, but they had one of those squishy mics that you could throw around. And
with the mic
boxes with the mic in it, right? And I said, I actually have no idea. That is the best question. I had everyone applaud that person.
That's amazing. That's great.
That's such a good question. And I said, can I get the squishy mic? Does anybody have thoughts? And we threw it around for like 5-10 minutes in the middle of the performance.
Nice. The engagement of the audience probably went up with that too.
So up. I got the highest marks in that conference. And it's because I view myself not as the sage on the stage and their pleased seats. And obviously now no one should be viewing themselves as a guru, a sage, or a wizard after this conversation, right? But I'm just happen to be the cute person that had to put on the nicer dress, and I'm in the spotlight that day. But I'm facilitating a group experience, and most of that experience is coming from my mouth, and there's some interaction. But I have no problem breaking the rules or like being like Deadpool and breaking the fourth wall, right? Like there's no reason why this has to be a flat experience. I love that you lean into being uncomfortable, and I think more speakers need to do that too. Lean into doing something different rather than, because what's the other option? Stand or broing it out and BSing, which is not
Yeah.
good.
The BS. So, I mean, in today's age, like the BS meter on people, they got the BS shield. Everybody knows. Like, you're not getting away with just BSing people nonstop anymore. Those days are gone.
Those days are gone. Thank you. R.I.P. to those days. To those days. So I'm super struggling with this 15-minute format. We've already been recording for 16 minutes and 51 seconds. But is there anything else that you'd like to leave the people with as far as ego, as far as, how to manage an audience, as far as what to do when you don't know? Anything?
I think, like in your book, being authentic is huge. If you don't know, say you don't know. And then a lot of times with my people specifically, they want to imitate or mirror whoever's the top person around. They might want to imitate or mirror me or someone else that they see. And like I was talking to someone yesterday and I'm like, hey, you're doing you. Like, you're going to be the best version of you. Don't try to be someone else, because then you're also going to be not real. You're going to be fake. Everyone's got a story. Like, bring your story into your speaking. Bring your background. You don't need to hide it. You don't need to pretend you're someone else. She thought she needed to act differently, dress differently, etc. You don't have to do that. Bring your story in, and people are going to identify with you, who you are, and where you're at. So there's no reason to hide that, or definitely don't pretend you're someone you're not.
Well, I find that as a personal mic drop moment. Thank you so much, Ryan. Now, before we let you go, please tell the people where they can find you and how they can connect with you.
Absolutely. So we do dog training. You can go to tiptopcanine.com if you're interested in dog training or, opening a franchise if you're a passionate animal lover. I'm on LinkedIn. We have our Facebook, all of our socials. I'm not on anything except for LinkedIn personally. I stay slammed. I'm literally on LinkedIn. That's it. So if you want to connect with me, go to LinkedIn. I check it about every once a week.
I love it. Ryan, this has been a joy. A joy, 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 joy. I really loved having you on. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, you're a rock star. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, I don't know about you, but I am ready to get linear. Never am I ever again going to call myself a guru. You heard it here first. Or a wizard. Or the sage. Never, ever, ever. Because now I really have heard and had it solidified by Ryan that is a really easy way to lose money and build a business that's gonna fail and lose an audience. So I'm not gonna do that, because as we've discovered, I love me some woo, I love me some ayahuasca, and I also love me some money. So if you are smart like me, was that my ego calling? I'm a work in progress, people. You are going to listen to Ryan's advice and be able to use those non-conventional techniques, including putting your ego to the side, to be a better business owner and a better speaker. If you want some help on figuring out that whole ego thing, you should buy my book, because I have a whole chapter about that. It is Spark the Stage, available on Amazon. You can get in the show notes. Today was an awesome episode. And I promise, working on getting these shorter. But, it is what it is. Until next time, my name is Alea Harris. This is the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast. And I am sending you lots and lots of love, light, and abundance. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Alea Harris. Vibing with what you hear? Leave a 5-star review to spread the love, and be sure to click subscribe. We wish you love, light, and abundance. See you next time.